Okay, so you're getting ready for a market research interviewer interview. That's awesome. We're going to do a deep dive into RoleCatcher's guides to help you absolutely crush it.
Yeah, think of us.
Think of us as your interview coaches.
Yeah,
In this role, you're going to be like the voice of the customer,
yeah.
getting all those juicy insights about products and services. We're talking phone calls, face-to-face chats,
Uh-huh.
maybe even online surveys. It's really all about figuring out what people really think.
Exactly.
And we've got sample questions, some insider tips on how to tackle those questions, and even some curveballs that they might throw your way.
Ooh, I like it.
Plus, we'll sprinkle in some career advice from RoleCatcher's experts. And lucky for us, we have a market research pro here to break it all down for us.
Happy to be here. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's start with a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career in market research? Now, it seems simple enough, but it's your chance to really showcase your genuine interest in the field.
Exactly. And I think instead of just listing reasons, think about showcasing your curiosity, your analytical skills. And RoleCatcher's interview guide gives a great example talking about your fascination with consumer behavior and how data can improve products. But you want to make it personal. What specifically sparked your interest?
Right. So let's say you're fascinated by how social media trends influence people's decisions to buy things.
Okay.
What kind of follow-up questions do you think they could ask based on that response?
They might dig deeper into a specific trend that you've noticed, or how you think that trend impacts market research itself. Because again, they want to see if your passion is real and how you think critically.
So it's like they're peeling back the layers to see what you're really made of.
Exactly.
Okay. Next question. What research methodologies are you familiar with? And I think this is where knowing those buzzwords, qualitative and quantitative methods is really key.
Definitely. And think of qualitative research as those deep dives, interviews, focus groups. You're getting those rich insights. Quantitative is all about the numbers. So that's like your surveys, data analysis. Those are all mentioned in RoleCatcher's career guide.
And the guide actually gives us this great sample response. It says, I am experienced in surveys, focus groups, in-depth interviews, and data analysis. So it really does cover all the bases.
It does.
But I bet tailoring your answer to each specific job description is super important too.
Oh, absolutely. If the job emphasizes online surveys, play up your expertise there. Show them that you have the skills that they need.
Okay, on to question 3. How do you ensure the quality of your research data? Now, this feels like it's all about attention to detail and accuracy.
It is. And it's where you're showing you're not just collecting data, but you're ensuring that it's good quality data. So think about pre-testing your surveys to catch any confusing questions, cleaning the data to remove errors, making sure that your sample represents the target audience. RoleCatcher's guide mentions that these steps are all crucial for accurate and reliable results.
Whoa, hold on. Data cleaning. What exactly does that mean and why is it so important?
Okay, so imagine a survey with typos in the answer choices.
Okay.
That can mess up your whole analysis. So data cleaning is like being a detective, finding and fixing those errors so your insights are spot on.
So inaccurate data can lead to bad decisions? So a market research interviewer's role in making sure that the data is high quality is super important.
It's crucial.
That makes total sense. And the sample answer mentions double-checking data entry and making sure the survey is appropriate for the target audience. These examples from RoleCatcher give us such a clear framework for how to answer that question.
Exactly. And they highlight concrete steps that interviewers want to hear.
Okay. Question 4. How do you stay up to date with the latest market research trends and techniques? This sounds like they're looking for lifelong learners here.
They are. And so think conferences, industry publications, professional organizations. These are all mentioned in RoleCatcher's career guide. For me personally, following experts on social media and listening to relevant podcasts is a great way to stay ahead of the curve.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the sample answer mentions newsletters and online forums, which are both great for staying in the loop, but mentioning specific conferences shows you're really dedicated, really.
Definitely. It proves you're actively engaged in the field and not just passively learning. And speaking of career development, RoleCatcher's career guide actually maps out the typical career progression for this role. From entry level to management, there's a lot of room to grow.
That's really encouraging. Okay, let's get a little techie here. Question 5. What is your experience with data analysis software? Knowing your tools like SPSS and Excel can be a big deal.
For sure. And those are two that the career guide highlights.
Mm-hmm.
SPSS is like a statistical powerhouse for when you're doing complex analysis. Excel is great for organization, charts, basic calculations. Both are very vital for a market research interviewer.
So let's say someone's more familiar with Excel.
hmm
How should they approach talking about SPSS?
Be honest, but frame it positively. You can say something like, I'm proficient in Excel, and while my SPSS experience is limited, I'm eager to learn.
I like that.
Yeah, so highlighting your strengths and willingness to learn is key.
That's great advice. And this is actually where RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful because it can analyze job descriptions to see what skills are emphasized and then help you tailor your answers to focus on those.
Absolutely. It's like having a personalized prep tool.
It really is. Okay. Question 6 takes us to the ethical side of things. How do you ensure the confidentiality and privacy of research participants? And this is something that the career guide really stresses as well.
It's crucial. You're dealing with people's sensitive information, so they need to be able to trust you that you're protecting their responses. So always get informed consent, explain the research purpose and how the data will be used, and follow all data privacy laws. These are all things that the sample answer and RoleCatcher suggests as well.
It's about finding that balance between getting the information that you need and respecting people's privacy.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on to more questions, I want to talk more about this RoleCatcher AI. I was blown away that it can even analyze your practice interview videos and give you personalized feedback.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
It's almost like having a personal interview coach right there with you.
It's such a valuable tool. It can point out things that you might not even notice yourself, like your pace or how clearly you're explaining things. It even gives you tips based on the specific company and role you're interviewing for.
It's incredible. I encourage everyone to check out both their free and paid options. It's an investment in your success.
Agreed. It's a game changer for anyone prepping for interviews these days.
It really is. Okay, ready for the next question.
Let's do it.
This one is all about organization. How do you prioritize and manage multiple research projects simultaneously? Sounds like they want a master organizer here.
They do, and this is where you shine a light on your ability to juggle a busy workload. Think about a time when you successfully managed multiple projects and used the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. It helps us structure your answer and really showcase your skills.
And RoleCatcher's sample answer actually uses the STAR method.
Perfect.
It talks about using a project management tool to stay organized. Any tips there?
Definitely. Project management tools can be lifesavers. One that I personally rely on is a Gantt chart.
Gantt chart. Okay, what's a Gantt chart?
So it's a visual representation of your project timeline. Imagine a chart that lays out all the tasks, the deadlines, and how they all connect. It's like a roadmap to keep you on track, especially when you have a lot of projects going on at the same time.
So Gantt charts are basically like project management superheroes.
Pretty much.
I need to add those to my toolkit.
You won't regret it. They make managing multiple projects so much smoother.
Okay. On to question 8. How do you ensure that research findings are actionable and impactful for clients?
It's about going beyond just the data, right?
Exactly. It's about understanding the so what of your research. You've analyzed everything, but what does it mean for the client? How can they use it to make better decisions? Think of yourself as a translator, turning data into insights that they can understand and actually act on.
I love that, like a data translator.
Yes.
And RoleCatcher's guide mentions clear communication and tailoring your insights to the client's needs. Do you have any tips for making those recommendations really impactful?
Make them smart-specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Don't just say improve your marketing. You want to say something like, increase your social media budget by 15% to target a younger demographic based on our findings. That's a much stronger recommendation. It's specific, it's measurable, it gives them a clear action to take.
Exactly. It shows you've thought deeply about the data and you're offering real value. And this type of thinking really aligns with the broader skills and knowledge required for a successful career in market research. And RoleCatcher's Career Guide outlines these in detail.
That's right. It's not just about answering these questions, it's about understanding the bigger picture of this career path.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to our final question for this part, I want to circle back to something from RoleCatcher's Career Guide that caught my eye. The emphasis on having a strong understanding of customer behavior.
Absolutely. And that's at the heart of market research. You're not just collecting data. You're trying to understand what makes people tick, what motivates them, what influences their decisions. It's almost like being a psychologist, but focused on consumer behavior.
I love that. It's about connecting data with human behavior and using those insights to help companies really thrive.
Exactly. And that's why this field is so dynamic and rewarding.
Okay, ready for our last question for this part. This one is so important in today's world. How do you ensure that your research is inclusive and representative of diverse perspectives? And RoleCatcher emphasizes this a lot too.
It's more crucial than ever to be mindful of diversity, equity, and inclusion in research. We need to make sure that we're reflecting the real world, all backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives.
So how do you actually ensure that inclusivity?
Start with your sampling methods. Make a conscious effort to recruit participants from various racial and ethnic backgrounds, genders, age groups, socioeconomic statuses, the whole spectrum. And it's not just demographics, consider diversity of thought and experience too.
And RoleCatcher's guide mentions using a variety of methods, like social media, community organizations, even partnering with diverse groups to reach a wider range of people.
Exactly. And be mindful of the language you use in your materials. Make sure that it's inclusive and respectful to all participants. And the sample response in the guide actually mentions this. They talk about using inclusive language and even ensuring that the research team itself is diverse.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something we've mentioned a few times now, RoleCatcher's AI. It's honestly game-changing for interview prep.
I agree. It's like having a personal career coach and resume writer all in one.
From tailoring your resume to the job description to analyzing your practice interview videos, it's incredible. And you can get started for free. Definitely explore their options. It's a valuable investment.
Absolutely. In today's competitive job market, every advantage counts.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
We've tackled some tough questions, gotten some great advice, and even explored how RoleCatcher can give you a serious edge. Feeling prepped so far?
I think we've armed you with some powerful tools and insights to really ace that interview.
Great. But we're not done yet. Stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll continue exploring these market research interviewer questions and delve even deeper into the career itself.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it. So we left off talking about making sure that your research is inclusive and representative. Now I want to kind of shift gears a bit and talk about how you, as a market research interviewer, can make sure that your findings actually make a difference for the clients. So let's tackle question 8. How do you ensure that research findings are actionable and impactful for clients? This seems like it goes beyond just presenting the data.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's about turning that data into a story that the client can understand and use. Imagine you're giving them a roadmap, not just a bunch of street signs.
I like that. A roadmap to better decisions. And RoleCatcher's guide emphasizes clear communication and tailoring your insights to the client's needs. Are there any other tips for making your recommendations really stand out?
Absolutely. Remember those SMART recommendations we talked about earlier? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. So instead of just saying improve your online presence, you could say, based on our research, I recommend allocating 20% more of your marketing budget to social media campaigns targeting young adults within the next quarter.
Wow, that's way more actionable. It's specific, it has numbers, it gives them a clear time frame.
Exactly. It shows you've analyzed the data and you're giving them a clear path forward. And this kind of strategic thinking is something that develops as you progress in your career.
That makes sense. Speaking of career progression, I remember RoleCatcher's career guide mentioned that market research interviewers often move into leadership roles. What are some of the key skills needed for that transition?
That's a great question. As you move up, you're going to need strong communication and presentation skills to effectively convey those research findings to stakeholders. You'll also need to be adept at managing teams, delegating tasks, mentoring junior researchers. It's a natural progression, but it does require you to hone some new skills as you go.
Sounds like a lot of responsibility, but also really rewarding.
Yeah.
Okay, on to our last interview question for this deep dive. This one is all about staying ahead of the curve. How do you stay up to date with the latest market research trends and techniques? I feel like this is a question where you can really showcase your passion for the field.
It definitely is. It's your chance to show them you're not just clocking in and out. You're genuinely invested in your professional growth. So think about what resources you use to stay informed. RoleCatcher's career guide mentions conferences, publications, professional organizations. Those are all great starting points.
And the sample answer even suggests subscribing to industry newsletters and participating in online forums. But would mentioning specific examples make your answer even stronger? like a recent conference you attended or a journal that you read.
Absolutely. It adds credibility and shows you're actively engaged, not just name dropping. And it ties back to those career advancement skills we just talked about. Continuously learning demonstrates adaptability, which is vital in any leadership role.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered all 9 interview questions from RoleCatcher's interview guide. Give yourselves a round of applause. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on one more thing that can really give you a boost. RoleCatcher's AI.
Yeah, it's truly a game changer for anyone navigating the job search process these days. And for market research interviewer roles specifically, it can be incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. Can you remind our listener about some of the key ways RoleCatcher's AI can help them prepare?
Of course. Their AI can tailor your resume to match specific job descriptions, highlighting the most relevant skills and experience. It can also analyze your practice interview videos, providing personalized feedback on your delivery, your content, even your body language.
It's like having a personal interview coach right at your fingertips.
It is.
And even their free version has tons of valuable resources. It's definitely worth exploring.
I agree. It's an investment in your future success. And speaking of investments, one of the best investments you can make in your career is to develop strong data analysis skills.
That's so true. And that brings me to something else that caught my eye in RoleCatcher's career guide. The mention of data visualization as a key skill for market research interviewers.
Oh, that's crucial. You can have the most amazing insights, but if you can't present them in a clear and compelling way, they might get lost. So think charts, graphs, infographics, anything that helps to bring that data to life.
So it's not just about crunching numbers, it's about telling a story with the data.
Exactly. And that storytelling ability can really set you apart as a market research interviewer. It's definitely something that interviewers are looking for.
It sounds like mastering data visualization is key to success in this field. Now, I know we've talked a lot about the technical skills needed for this role, but what about the soft skills? I'm thinking like communication, teamwork, problem solving, those seem pretty important too.
They're essential. Think about it. You're constantly interacting with people, clients, research participants, colleagues. You need strong communication skills to build rapport, to ask insightful questions, to clearly explain your findings.
In RoleCatcher's career guide, actually highlights some specific soft skills that are particularly valuable for market research interviewers, like active listening and empathy.
Oh, that's so important. You need to be able to really listen to what people are saying, both in interviews and when you're presenting your findings. And empathy allows you to understand their perspectives and tailor your approach accordingly.
It's about connecting with people on a human level, not just treating them as data points.
I love that.
Now, before we move on to part 3, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the use of the STAR method for answering interview questions.
Yeah.
I think it's worth reiterating how powerful this technique can be.
I agree. The STAR method situation, task, action, result, is a fantastic way to structure your answers and make sure you're providing concrete examples that demonstrate your skills. It helps you to tell a compelling story that really showcases your experience and your capabilities.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your practice interview videos and give you feedback on how effectively you're using the STAR method. It's like having a personal coach helping you refine your interviewing technique.
Exactly. It's such a valuable resource. And speaking of resources, one thing that I found particularly helpful in RoleCatcher's career guide was the section on salary expectations.
Oh, that's right. It gives you a realistic overview of what you can expect to earn at different stages in your career, which is so helpful for negotiating your salary.
It is. And it even breaks down salaries by location and industry, so you can get a sense of the market rate in your specific area.
That is incredibly useful information.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to part 3, I want to touch on something that often gets overlooked in interview prep.
Yeah.
Asking thoughtful questions at the end of the interview.
That's such a great point. Asking insightful questions shows that you're engaged, you're curious, you're genuinely interested in the role. It's also a chance to gather information that'll help you decide if this is the right opportunity for you.
And RoleCatcher's interview guide actually has a whole section dedicated to crafting compelling questions to ask the interviewer.
It does. And it even provides specific examples tailored to different industries and company cultures.
That's amazing. So it's not just about answering their questions, it's about having a genuine conversation and demonstrating your interest.
Exactly. And that can make all the difference in making a lasting impression.
All right, we've covered so much ground already. We've tackled interview questions, explored career insights, and even delved into the power of RoleCatcher's AI. But hold on tight, because there's still more to come in part 3. We'll be back after a quick break to wrap up this deep dive into the world of market research interviewers. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into the world of market research interviewers. We've covered a lot of ground, from tackling those sometimes tricky interview questions to exploring the career path itself.
Yeah, it's been a great journey, and I hope our listeners are feeling a lot more confident and prepared for their interviews.
I think so too. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on something we haven't really explicitly discussed yet: the importance of showcasing your passion for this field during the interview.
That's a fantastic point, because enthusiasm and genuine interest can really make you stand out from other candidates. Interviewers want to see that you're not just looking for any job, you're specifically drawn to market research.
Right. It's about conveying that spark, that curiosity that drives you to uncover insights and really understand what makes people tick. Do you have any tips for how our listener can really showcase that passion during an interview?
Absolutely. Think about what specifically excites you about market research. Is it the challenge of uncovering hidden trends? Is it the opportunity to influence product development? The satisfaction of helping companies connect with their customers? Whatever it is, let that enthusiasm shine through in your answers.
I love that. It's about letting your personality and your genuine interest really take center stage. And I think that ties back to something we talked about earlier: personalizing your answers.
You're right. Generic responses just aren't going to cut it. They won't make a lasting impression. So share anecdotes. Connect your experiences to the role. Demonstrate how your unique skills and perspectives can benefit the company.
It's about painting a picture of yourself as a valuable asset, not just a candidate checking boxes.
Exactly. And remember, the interview is a two-way street. It's not just about them evaluating you, it's also a chance for you to evaluate them and decide if this company and this role are the right fit for you.
That's a great reminder. Asking thoughtful questions at the end of the interview shows that you're engaged, you're curious, and you're taking this whole process seriously. And speaking of taking things seriously, I want to circle back to one of the most valuable resources we've discussed today: RoleCatcher's AI.
It's such an incredible tool for anyone who's preparing for interviews, especially for market research interviewer roles. It's like having a personalized career coach and resume writer all in one.
Absolutely. It can help you tailor your resume to perfectly match the job description, practice your answers, and get feedback on your delivery, and even explore different career paths within market research.
And the best part is there's a free version available, so anyone can benefit from its features. It's definitely worth checking out.
It really is. It's an investment in your future success.
100%. And I think that's a great note to end on. Investing in yourself, your skills, and your preparation is the key to unlocking those really exciting opportunities in the world of market research.
Well said. So to our listener who's gearing up for their interview, remember, you've got this. You've put in the work, you've gained valuable insights, and you're ready to showcase your talent.
Go in there with confidence, let your passion shine through, and most importantly, remember to be yourself.
We're cheering you on.
Best of luck with your interview.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of market research interviewers. Thanks for joining us.